So yeah, some people say these days that London is broken. Quite a popular theme, I would say, on social media, especially after all the comments that Trump has made about Europe and his cabinet as well. So people say that UK is broken, that it's swarmed with immigrants, that London is supremely expensive, you don't get enough for your tax money, and that it's dirty, unsafe, and generally it's no longer worth living in London, and there's way better cities and places out there of a similar caliber. We live in London, and we've lived in London for a while now, and we can form quite an educated opinion, I would say, on the matter. So, what do you think? Is London really broken? Is it not worth it anymore?
Well, if I had to say yes or no, yes, London is broken. Yes, it's not worth it, but there are very few places I would trade it for. I love London, and I'm a very, very proud Londoner. Having said that, yes, it's broken. It's not worth it.
Oh, fair
Sorry,
enough.
Alex.
So how is it broken?
It's broken. I think first of all comes the cost. Everything is so ridiculously expensive. We're talking about £6 for a latte, being a normal price. I mean, think about it. £6. You could get a meal for £6 15 years ago when I moved in. So, and you think about it as London tax. Like you're paying for that. If your friend is asking you for a casual dinner, we're not talking about, living the life, going to Shoreditch, partying all night. We're talking about having a sushi with appetizer and, green tea. £80. So anything you do is probably likely to end up in triple digits. Like I've done a bar class, I think it was 25 quid. So everything you do is extremely expensive. Yes, of course, there are a few museums, but I mean, we've been to that. 16 years. How many times do you go to British museums? So cost is insane. Every single step costs you money in London.
Yeah. Well, the problem, of course, is that you can say the same about most major cities. Singapore is very expensive. New York is more expensive than London, right? And the Paris is not cheap.
Cheaper. Paris is cheaper,
It is.
Alex.
Well, in certain ways, depending on where you look at, and people disagree, but it's probably on average cheaper. But there are loads of major cities which are very, very expensive. The difference, and that's what people are pointing out, and why they're saying the city London is no longer worth it, is that you don't get your money's worth.
Yeah.
Right. That's the main problem. Right. So if you have, for example, a high income and you can eat those expenses, and that's okay, or at least it's not gonna affect you're not gonna eat or you're not gonna heat your house, stuff like that. So if you're in that category, it more becomes about whether it's worth the cost, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're getting your money's worth. And the argument that people say, and I agree with many of those, is that you're not, right?
Yeah.
That the city got worse in the last 20 years. That it's no longer as safe. It's no longer. It's much dirtier than it used to be. And you just, it's still a big megapolis, very diverse. But in the end of the day, you can find, is the argument, many of those features in other big cities where it's also going to be clean, it's going to be safe, everything's going to work. The tube people are not going to go on strike every other day, and you're just going to pay less tax as well, which is quite important. Some of those. So I find it hard often to find a counter argument to those points. Frankly, can you find?
I mean, they won't be very logical because London is insanely expensive. And exactly like you said, you're not really having the full value in return. Service has done massively downhill. And that's very understandable because those people are still working for the same salary they used to pre-COVID. That's real. While their costs are insanely high and they just no longer care. So
you're talking about service in restaurants and...
shops, restaurants, anywhere. And it's understandable, it's not an excuse, but you're not having the same level of service, I would say. So the money you're paying is much worth.
Worth much less.
It's worth much less, but I love London. I mean, I would consider living it, of course, but maybe only for one or two places on Earth.
Yeah.
I love London because, it's just so different. You can take a tube, to South Kensington. By the way, we live in Canary Wharf, which is kind of East-ish London. And suddenly you're in a different universe.
Yeah.
Like I went there today to do my hair and you have the cherry blossom. People are dressed differently. And you're not just in a different city, you're in a different country. You feel like in a different continent.
Yeah.
If you go to Hackney or Shoreditch, again, different crowd, different vibe, different places. how many places on earth you can get it in. I mean, I love Paris, but when you're in Paris, I think there is this saying: you will always know that you are in Paris.
Yeah.
In London, you will not always know that you're in London because it's so different, it's so diverse, and it's still one of the centers of the world.
That's a good point. If you if you get dropped blind, not knowing which
Yeah.
city you are in, into not near Big Ben, but one of the areas in London, sometimes you'll really struggle to figure out
Yeah.
where you are until you ask someone. Yeah, it's a very big and diverse place in terms of you kind of in a way there is a biomes in there. That Hackney is super different from Kensington and stuff
Yeah.
like that, like completely different universes.
Then we have Camden, Highgate.
Yeah, and all of those places have their unique character and their unique vibe.
Fashion. People look
Even
differently, yeah.
even their fashion, it's quite cool. I mean, there are other cities which have a similar situation going on. For instance, New York pops to mind. Yeah,
Berlin.
Berlin, yeah, is another good example. And so yeah, there are cities like that, but they are also expensive. And Berlin, as great as it is, it's not one of the centers of the world, right?
All due respect.
And London, despite it might be, so it's like this. I'm thinking about it. It's like this old giant monument in a way, or
Yeah.
it's hard to describe. It's like it might be getting brittle or worn with age, like a statue who's slowly losing its limbs and so on. But it's still grand. Yeah, it's still grand when you are in London. You understand that you're in one of those beating hearts of the world, right? It might be beating a little weirdly these days, a little bit of tachycardia going on or whatever, but it's still there. You can feel it, right? And not every city has that.
For a few cities.
I would say, and yeah, the cool part about it is true as well is that each one of those areas is so distinctive that it's like a whole town, not even a whole town, it's kind of your big city in itself in a way.
Yeah.
And some people rarely live there. The areas of London are very protective and big on it.
Like you can be North London or you could West London or East London or and this.
And everyone knows what that means. Those are distinctive characters of the place, right? So that's an important thing, right? It's not very pragmatic, probably, right? Because that doesn't detract from the fact that it's super expensive, that the services constantly break down, that your streets are messed up a lot of the time. But that kind of thing, that intangible feeling that you get in certain places, and just the fact that you can have such a diversity within one big city is precious.
What precious, I think, is having the identity because, like, we're both born into Russian-speaking families in Latvia, and then we moved to the UK. So people ask us, "Well, who are you?" To me, I'm a Londoner.
Yeah.
And I think many expats, and there are officially more expats than native Londoners now in London, according to the latest statistics. And I'm very proud to have that identity. Because yes, it's a horrible city. I mean, in so many ways, but you're still somehow proud. And yes, I'm a Londoner. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's nice to say I'm from London. Yeah, it sounds good. But I mean, having said that, and coming back to the problems for a second, there is a limit to which that can take you, right? And I think it's getting close for me, for instance. Yeah, I can feel it because the tax here is insane. Especially if you're on a high, like a high income, you really feel it. It's like they're taking a lot of your money away, and they constantly, whichever government comes in, they are coming up with the new ways of messing you up, and it's never smart. If they were spending the money smart, it would be great, but it's not. Right.
They're not even legalizing weed, which is a whole other thing.
It's a whole other topic, but they do all kind of stupid nonsense stuff, which you like, why are you spending my money on this? And at the same time, they're not doing some obvious things, like, for instance, legalizing weed. Yeah. But, it's not just the fact that the tax is high. I can live with high tax. It's that I don't see what I'm getting for it.
Yeah.
I don't see massive support for businesses in London.
Police on the street,
like
there is none.
police is horrendously either understaffed or undertrained or both things in there. The council tax, again, very high, which you pay just for living in the place that you live. You just pay for the fact that council is supposed to take out your trash, keep your streets
Spoil
clean,
it.
and protect you when, for instance, you have noisy or annoying neighbors and stuff. It does none of that.
None of that.
They do none of that. So the streets are dirty a lot of the time.
Trash is there.
Apart from, okay, there are a few exceptions, like for instance in very west London, the area of multimillionaires and billionaires, right, like those superb wide streets. There, yes, but I'm scared to think what tax they're paying. But it's probably horrendous. But whatever, like there are exceptions there, but the vast majority of London, everything is getting worse. You don't get your tax money's worth. It is spent on nonsense, and as a person who pays a lot of tax, I just hate that. I hate that. Yeah, and it's completely different when you go to a place like Scandinavia, and you speak to people there.
I'm sure Scandinavians would have.
Well, yeah, they would have. Everyone has their own thing, but like when I usually speak to them, and I've spoken to quite a few over the years and recently as well. They're like, yeah, the tax is high, yeah, we hate it, and like the prices are, but we feel safe. Our schools are great, our streets are clean. All of those things that you just feel every day by just living in the city. So tax is a big problem, and when you're thinking about certain places where you either have right now it's a bad example, but for instance Dubai, where you it's tough, very tough there right now, but where you have pretty much zero tax, or Singapore, we have much lower tax again, and at the same time things are clean, everything's working, everything's on time, everything's modern. You start thinking, how far can London take this? And I think it's getting to a wrong place. And you're already listening to what people are talking about, and just the latest news on this. There's a lot of millionaires living London already, and that is a problem as well. Anyway, what are the problems apart from tax?
Oh well, tube, everyone's favorite. I mean, it's good that we have it. I think the oldest one in the world, I think it might be Paris. London is probably the second one. Tube is horrendous. I mean, I think I already mentioned it. One day I got charged 25 quid. I'm not going to dispute it because I don't have the time, but like, for what? And basically you kind of freeze, and then you sweat, and then everyone is pushing you, and you're coming to the office at 8 a.m. and thinking, oh great, train will be free. No, it's not. You can't even get inside. They go on strikes wherever they want. Even their salaries, like, is it 75k?
I don't know, but it's high salary for what they do.
Plus free tube, obviously. So tube is horrible. It might get you from A to B, but it's horrendous.
Tube, for those who doesn't know, haven't been to London, is local subway.
Metro. Sorry,
And so the problem is that it's coming to think of it, though, coming to the tube, I am annoyed by the price of it and the fact that it's dirty and old and so on. But when you visit places, for example, like Los Angeles, right, where you have no subway, where you can just go to any place, any corner of the city easily, and you have to drive, you can't escape it. Same with Houston, for instance, in the US, big booming city. That I can feel that would grate on me very quickly, with all the disadvantages of the local tube. Just the fact that you can jump on the train, okay, have some change a few times, and the train might break down and so on. But,
right, it will.
It will. But realistically, you can go to any part of the city on public transport, on the train, within, especially when everything's working, within a reasonable amount of time. Try doing that in Houston, for example. You will be on the bus for the rest of your life.
Yeah, let's not get into that, because obviously Houston taxes are better. From what I've heard, Houston housing is much better. Housing.
Yeah.
Tiny, overpriced, horrible neighbors. Like, housing is tough in London. Very, very, very tough.
I think among the complaints, that's probably the worst one for me.
Yeah.
Well, tax and housing. What's the big problem with housing apart from the fact that it's expensive to buy a place?
Again, the value you get for your money and being unprotected. Just like you said, you are paying the council tax because of disciplined taxpayers, but the council is not really protecting you from anyone.
Yeah,
You can have Airbnb next to your door. There is nothing you can do.
yeah. Well, it's just the legislation and the way it's formed here. It protects people who are, misbehaving or
Yeah,
being
yeah.
bad. That's very weird. But yeah,
Mhm.
if for example you happen to have an Airbnb in your building, which kind of prohibits Airbnb, we've had that experience before, is that you will be the one chasing everyone, trying like having conflicts with all of those guests which are coming in and having parties. That you can complain to your building, you can complain to the council, complain to the police. You can, unless you go legal and going through all of the things that implies, including cost, time, stress, all of those things, you are super unprotected, and still you'll be suffering for months until that brings a result.
But if you're the bad guy, you're fine.
Yeah, if you're a bad guy who doesn't give a shit, you will be
Yeah.
fine. So
Yeah.
you can come to the building, be a complete asshole, and you will be okay, right? And that's not the only example in where that's is just not working, right? And also here in London, coming back to the cost, you're getting, especially if you want to live in a nice area, you're in order to get a sizable space.
Oh.
You will pay a lot. I mean, it's not New Manhattan a lot, but it is a lot,
It's all
right? So we're talking, if you're looking, for example, a 2-bedroom place in a nice area, definitely going north of $1 million, right? If you're
Yeah.
talking a good, like a great building, modern, spacious, or maybe nice view, definitely north of $1 million. Right,
Yeah.
£1 million. So you're going. If someone's thinking dollars, that's what 1.3. Well,
You know,
so
even
some so
more, yeah.
even more. Yeah.
And when we say nice, we mean like ish, you know.
Yeah.
We're not giving anything extraordinary, yeah.
Yeah, and considering all the recent energy crises and just the growing interest rates and so on, imagine you have a 1.3 million place and you have a mortgage at which you pay like 4-5%. Imagine how much money that is, right? It's insane, right? And for that you're getting, so you're not gonna get, for instance, extremely high ceilings, a butler who brings you stuff.
Get into bedroom.
No, and you also, if you're buying a flat in here, and that's a concept which is not known to everyone, you're not really buying the place, you're buying the lease, right? You're a lease holder. So you're buying a lease for a certain number of years, and that means that you have to pay a rent. You're kind of an owner, but you're still paying rent. You're paying ground rent for the to people who own the ground, and you're paying service charge to the building for running the services, which usually suck as well, most of the time. Yeah. So your hot water breaks down, your again, something happening with the trash, your lift's not working, like constantly. Yeah. And for quite a bit of money. Again, cost versus value is a little
Well, Alex,
broken.
given everything we've said and we've rented, if you were to like put it in one sentence for London, is it worth it? Like, what would you say if you had put it in one sentence?
Well, I think yes, but not for much longer.
Okay.
Yeah, that if I have to do it in one sense, because we haven't even covered approximately all the problems like having going on with London, but not all of its advantages as well. Advantages in terms of the job market, for instance, right?
Or gyms, workout selection.
Gyms, in terms of just the healthy lifestyle that you can lead here. It's one of the cities where, for instance, if you're having intolerances, if you're a vegetarian or vegan or, any of those things, if, for instance, you just want a nice oat cappuccino, right? This is one of those...
This 2026, no one drinks cappuccino.
Whatever. Yeah, like any coffee.
It's like macadamia.
But you see what I mean? Okay, there's it's one of those cities, and unless you're living in Europe, for example, where those things are most of the time kind of a given, but again, not in every country, in every city. In terms of just the fact that you can eat healthily and be knowing that if you have any kind of food intolerances, you will always find something, that is for sure. Gyms are great if you can afford them, and classes are great, and the variety is insane. absolutely insane in terms of classes. Yeah. So and just important thing like going out.
Oh yeah. Cape Town is my winner, but London is like close there.
Why Cape Town is better than London?
Just because it's amazing. And
Yeah,
people
Cape
are,
Town is great.
I mean, we ended up at that couple's place. Who would invite us to their place in London? No one. On the first night of knowing each other, but that's a whole other topic. Well, to me, London kind of drains my bank account massively. I'm in overdraft every single month. It drains my body because of the pollution and everything, but it just fills your life. Like, I mean, cheesy, but this is what it is. It does
Yeah,
fill my life.
it does. You can. There's this whole movie I like, Sin City, which I think is great. But there was a quote to say, "Go," I think something like, "Go around the dark alley in Sin City and you can find anything." And in London, it's kind of similar. You can find anything here, whichever is your background, whichever is your preference for food, for sex, for like going out, for a place to live, for a workout. Yeah, you can find your identity in the city much easier, and what's very important, you are much more likely to be accepted with that identity than in many other places, which can go again into negatives here in terms of like uncontrolled immigration sometimes and how the tax money is spent and blah, but still you can be the beneficiary of that, just as like people who misuse that still, and it's still a big boon. But how far can it take if things go the way they do? I'd say not very far, and more people will be living, and for good reasons. But anyway, this might be a much longer topic which we can talk about later. But for people who watching or listening, what do you think about London? Whether if you're a Londoner, do you think the city is slowly going to hell, like some people are saying? Do you think there's more problems than advantages in here? Is it still worth living in? And if you are not in London, or for example in a major city or in a small town, what kind of problems do you have? Do you think that what we said about London is not too bad and you would still rather go here than live where you are? It would be lovely to hear what you think. And otherwise, thanks for watching or listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye, guys.